If you read just one book this year, make it this one. Most people spend years making mistakes that could be completely avoided in just 10 minutes. In this video, we're unlocking the core lessons from The Divorce by Freida McFadden. A woman gets kicked out of her own home by a husband who tells her it's a surprise renovation. He's lying. And by the time you find out how deep that lie goes, you'll realize the person you thought was the victim of this story might be the one holding the knife. This is Freida McFadden's The Divorce, and underneath the courtroom drama and custody battles is one of the most twisted psychological reveals she's ever written. Let's get into it. Lesson 1. The person selling you their side of the story is never a reliable narrator. Naomi Roth spends the first half of this book convincing you, and herself, that she's a wronged wife. Her husband Jeremy tricks her into moving out under the guise of a home renovation, changes the locks, drains the joint bank account, and then reveals he's leaving her for a much younger woman named Veronica. Every detail is designed to make you sympathize with Naomi. She's a former doctor who gave up her career for motherhood. She wears crystals for emotional support. She's got a meddling psychic mother in the background feeding her paranoia. McFadden builds Naomi as relatable and wounded. But here's the trick of first-person narration in domestic thrillers. The narrator only tells you what serves her. Naomi never mentions, until it's forced out of her, that she stole her own son from a car at a highway rest stop when he was a newborn. She constructs an entire false reality, complete with a fabricated birth certificate courtesy of her mother's shady government connections, and builds 5 years of marriage on that lie. The lesson for anyone consuming true crime or psychological fiction, or honestly anyone navigating a messy personal conflict, is this: sympathy generated by a one-sided account should always be held loosely. The most dangerous people rarely announce themselves as villains. They tell you their story first, and they tell it in a way that makes their worst actions look like desperation or love. Lesson 2. Escalation rarely announces itself. Watch how Naomi's behavior shifts across this book. It starts small. She follows Veronica through a grocery store. She makes anonymous threatening calls. She stabs a stuffed elephant and plants it to make herself look unstable, except it wasn't even her doing it at that point. That one was actually Jeremy's manipulation. Then she breaks into her old home and knocks Veronica unconscious with a rock. Then she duct tapes her in a wine cellar. Then she cuts off her hair with scissors. Then she plans to disfigure her face. Then she decides to burn her alive. This is the anatomy of escalation in fiction and in real psychology. Each act is justified by the one before it. Naomi never wakes up one day deciding to become a killer. She talks herself into each next step because the previous step already happened, and turning back would mean admitting what she's become. This mirrors a well-documented psychological principle called the sunk cost trap applied to morality. Once someone crosses a line, continuing down that path feels easier than confronting the version of themselves capable of crossing it in the first place. If you're watching for warning signs in your own life or relationships, the takeaway isn't to watch for one big red flag. It's to watch for the small ones that keep getting explained away. Lesson 3. Isolation is the first move of every manipulator. Jeremy's playbook throughout this book is a masterclass in coercive control, and it's worth breaking down because it mirrors real-world abuse tactics almost exactly. He isolates Naomi from her home. He cuts off her financial access. He retains every good divorce lawyer in town so she can't hire one. He manipulates timing, telling her one time for pickups and then gaslighting her into believing she misremembered. He turns their child against her through subtle framing. He stages evidence, like the stabbed elephant, to make her look unhinged in front of mediators. What makes this so unsettling is that Jeremy isn't even doing this primarily out of love for Veronica. By the book's final act, we learn he orchestrated almost the entire collapse of the marriage because he discovered, years earlier, that Teddy wasn't biologically his son, and he decided the cleanest solution was to eliminate anyone who threatened his claim on the boy, including having the biological father killed and slowly building a case to eventually kill Naomi too. Every act of control was calculated, not emotional. This is the chilling reality behind real coercive control. It's rarely impulsive. It's strategic, patient, and dressed up as reasonableness. The lesson here is that manipulation tactics that isolate a person from money, community, and credibility are never neutral. They are the setup for something worse. Lesson 4. The twist works because it punishes assumption. The structural genius of this book is how it uses Veronica's perspective in Part 3 to detonate everything you thought you understood. Up until that section, Veronica is painted as the stereotypical homewrecker, the young woman with a drug history who seduced a married man for his money. McFadden lets you sit comfortably in that assumption for over half the book. Then we learn Veronica had a baby named Dominic, kidnapped from a car at a rest stop by a woman who turns out to be Naomi. Veronica spent 6 years searching for her son, working service jobs, staying clean, refusing to give up hope, only to discover her missing child has been living the whole time as Teddy, raised by the very people she once viewed as her enemies. The revelation reframes every single scene we witnessed earlier. Naomi wasn't a wronged wife defending her family. She was defending a lie built on a kidnapping. This is why unreliable narrator structures hit so hard when done well. They don't just surprise you, they indict you for believing the surface story. McFadden is essentially testing whether readers will default to judging Veronica by her past instead of her actions, and most readers do exactly that until the truth reorders everything. Lesson 5. Loyalty to a lie always has an expiration date. The ending delivers a brutal irony. Naomi dies in the fire she herself set, trying to eliminate Veronica and cover up her crimes once and for all. Her own lawyer, Ezra Fletcher, who spent the book fighting valiantly on her behalf, also dies in that basement after being pushed down the stairs by the very client he was defending. Meanwhile, Jeremy, the architect of years of manipulation and even murder, walks away completely unscathed, grieving publicly as a devoted father while quietly relieved that both people who knew the truth about Teddy are now dead. That's the darkest thread running through this entire novel. The person who orchestrated the most damage, who arranged Clay Barkley's death by overdose, who gaslit his wife into looking insane, who lied about a paternity test, faces zero consequences by the final page. McFadden isn't offering a tidy moral resolution. She's showing you that in stories built on lies, sometimes the most calculated liar is the one left standing, while the more chaotic, emotionally driven liar burns for both of their sins. It's an uncomfortable but honest observation. Cold, patient manipulation is often harder to detect and punish than desperate, visible cruelty. By the end, Veronica gets her son back, which is the emotional payoff the book earns. But the larger warning embedded in this ending is that justice in real life doesn't always mirror justice in fiction, and the people who seem the most stable and reasonable throughout a conflict are sometimes the ones who've simply gotten better at hiding what they've done. If this summary saved you hours of reading and gave you real value, hit the subscribe button right now. Leave a comment below letting us know which book you want to see next. And if you want to keep growing your mind, click the video appearing on your screen right now. See you in the next 10 minutes.